but your life does not.
For most of us, regrets are pretty much the norm in life. It could be the time you left the iron on your shirt while doing laundry to make a quick phone call. Or maybe you decided to invest your life savings in Bitcoin when the market was high and got hit when its price cratered. But here's the thing though, there are some instances when regrets hit you almost immediately. I'm talking real-time stuff here. And in this video, we'll run through some of these instances where people took specific actions and immediately knew that they'd messed up big time. Join us as we have a look at moments of instant regret caught on camera. Work hazard. Now, if you have a job to do, it's only expected that you do it to the best of your ability and stop at nothing to get things right. However, for some people, the fact that they're working so hard in and of itself means that they can be vulnerable to some pretty regrettable situations. Back in February of 2020, someone took this footage of an exotic dancer at a club in Dallas. These days, a lot of exotic dancers tend to make some pretty crazy risks in their attempts to entertain, and this dancer decided to take a bit of a risk and climb her pole all the way up. The problem, however, was that coming down was not so easy for her, and when she finally decided to make her descent, well, this happened. To her credit, though, she took it like a pro. I mean, she even did a headstand with all of that going on, and that deserves some major respect. Throwing practice. Now, if you're a parent, I think one of the best ways to support your child would be to find out what they're good at and encourage them to practice as much as possible from a young age. These small children appeared to have found their passion for football, but I don't think their parents wanted them practicing their throwing inside of the house, especially since it could cost them a window. Well, good luck explaining that one to your dad, man. Onion ring gone wrong. Have you ever been to one of those restaurants where they make some special effects to make you feel all cool? Well, while onion volcanoes might seem awesome, they're really only nice when they're done correctly. And in the case of this one, it appears that the chef still needed a little bit of training to make sure that his volcano was in top shape. Because as you would expect, things actually began pretty well for him. For some reason, though, the entire volcano, well, it catches fire. Now, I know they tried to laugh it off, but can you imagine how embarrassing it must have been for the chef? Talk about having a bad day at the office. Testing science. If you've even remotely been familiar with regular science, you would know that one of the biggest arguments has been about what would happen if you stuck your tongue on a freezing metal pole. Some say it'll freeze, while others claim that nothing's going to happen if you do. But in December of 2017, a firefighter captain named Kent Palmer decided to test the theory, and let's just say he got his answer in no ambiguous terms.
Oh shit. He's stuck. What'd you get, Dolly? The bell rang.
So Kent essentially found out the truth, although he did it the hard way and regretted it instantly. Fortunately, his mates were able to come to his aid. And what did we learn today? If you stick your tongue to a frozen pole, it is going to get stuck. An emotional time. When you play sports, you know that it's possible to let your emotions get the better of you. But as much as is possible, you should also try to keep your emotions in check. Take a cue from this man, James Harden, who got a quick dose of regret after smacking the ball during a game.
Hard has to worry about the contact. Hard just lost the ball. Oh, and then put it into his own chin.
Now that's gotta hurt. The craziest hibachi fail. Speaking of restaurant workers who got a little more than they bargained for, even a concept like hibachi can easily be screwed up. Now, we all know how this works. However, even when hibachi is done correctly, the fact that it involves fire means that anything can go wrong. And for these chefs, let's just say that they got played by a safety precaution. Not only did they fail to entertain their guests properly, these guys also locked into one of the craziest hibachi fails that you'll ever see. And who on earth was that guy that kept on laughing like that? If the sprinklers coming on abruptly didn't embarrass the chefs, I'm sure the guy's laughter would have. An untrained superhero. Now, personally, I love superhero movies. I mean, the gadgets are cool and all, but one thing I really love about superheroes is the fact that they do some pretty cool stunts and then hit that superhero landing at the end. But even though I do love superheroes, I don't necessarily fool myself into thinking that I could be one. Sadly, this guy didn't quite get that idea. Back in 2015, this video went viral, showing the moment that a wannabe Spider-Man in Argentina got a little more than he had bargained for. The Spider-Man impersonator was hired to entertain children at a birthday party, and to be honest, he did have some impressive skills. But eventually, he took things too far when he tried to pull out a backflip. Fortunately, Spider-Man wasn't hurt and was able to get up after making an utter joke of himself, but moments like these will definitely live on in the internet forever. Tom Holland would see this and immediately shake his head. Keepy-ups in the kitchen. Any professional athlete would tell you the importance of always being fit, but while you always have to practice, I don't think doing that in the kitchen is necessarily a good idea. From doing keepy-ups to looking for a repair guy, life certainly does come at you fast now, doesn't it? Wine o'clock. Considering how much that I work, there's personally no better part of the day for me than the point when I get to go home, crack open a bottle of wine, and just chill out. It's the perfect way to cap off a stressful but productive day, and it gives me just the right amount of relaxation before bed. Now, I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, but the fact that many of us love wine so much doesn't mean that it loves us back. Just take this lady for instance. She had been seated in her home with a bottle of red, and she was even playing an online game to pass the time, when all of a sudden this happened.
You really do need something now. She dropped it on.
Yikes! Now I know this was a case of terrible balance, but something tells me she'll likely set up the next time she decides to have a sip. Hanging by a thong. Now you know that moment when you're on holiday and you want to do something cool for the camera? Well, the next time you try that, make sure that you're really prepared. This lady got a hard dose of reality as she tried to jump off a tree while at a private beach, and I think that it's safe to say that things did not end very well for her. I've never seen someone get a wedgie from a tree before. Wow. Hairpiece mishap. Now these days, we all go to great lengths to beautify ourselves. That's why things like plastic surgery and wigs are so popular. However, even though it's pretty easy to get something cosmetic to improve your appearance, it's always important to be as careful as possible with these things. For a perfect example of this, watch what happens when this lady has a terrible wig mishap while in the middle of a televised interview.
But your life does not. Oh my God.
Now, to be honest, the fact that her wig fell off was bad enough, but to hear the man laugh like that was the absolute icing on the embarrassing cake. Nosy seat partners. Only a few things will annoy me, like someone interrupting my beauty sleep. Apparently, even karma hates it when you do this to others. This lady decided to prank her sleeping seat partner while in class, and she got an immediate dose of good old payback. The next time you see someone catching a snooze, it's probably better just to leave them alone. Garbage disposal prank. Now, we've all pulled a prank or two on our friends. I mean, it's one of those things that makes friendship so awesome. However, if you're ever going to plan a prank, it goes without saying that you'll want to do something that won't cause you any harm. But for this guy, things didn't necessarily pan out the way he'd hoped. He had a simple idea, to place some ketchup on his hand and pretend like it got stuck in the garbage disposal in order to prank his friend. But because he was so disorganized in his prank and his friend cared for him so much, this happened. The collision didn't cause any injury, but I think the guy learned a huge lesson not to prank his friends. Sometimes it may just backfire and bite you. The egg sacrifice. Now, if you ever feel like you've got issues with prioritizing, you should probably watch this guy and feel pretty good about yourself. He literally dropped an entire crate just to save one egg. Talk about priority issues. Premature celebration. One of the most desirable qualities of athletes is being clutch. Basically, everyone loves athletes who are calm in crunch time and can be relied upon when the chips are down, but I think it's also equally as important to maintain your nerve when the clock is winding down and you're up. Otherwise, you may end up like this guy. Here, we see a sprinter who is just about to cross the finish line after a marathon race. The problem, however, was that he got a little too ahead of himself with his celebration.
Coronation for Tonche Pepio. He's getting the crowd. He wants the crowd to cheer.
Do you know how terrible this is? The runner was literally only a few paces away from the finish line, and he already began celebrating, only for him to be passed just at the end of the race. He basically had to hang his head in shame, knowing that he could have won that race if he hadn't decided to gloat. I think the lesson here is pretty clear. Don't get ahead of yourself. Uncharted territory. The ocean is truly a strange place. Most of us don't even know how deep it is, and those who have an idea also know that it's home to some truly dangerous animals. Now, for tourists who would like to test their swimming skills in oceans, it's important to make sure that you're jumping into non-shark infested waters. Still, there really is no way to be sure. Take this guy for example.
That was a bad idea! Get on the boat!
Do you know how crazy that is? Jumping into a water body only to realize that there's a shark there? Fortunately for this swimmer, the animal that came to him was a basking shark, a species of shark that's actually harmless to humans. But boy, imagine what a different scenario this would have been if it had been a great white. Jet ski gone wrong. Now, I think we can all agree that people who annoy others in public spaces are the worst. I mean, there's no feeling that's more annoying than going out to a park and seeing someone playing music out loud. In this case, we have an aquatic equivalent of a park. This clip, which was taken back in June of 21, shows the moment that a couple of people went onto a boat in the open water and began playing their music really loud. Now, to be fair, someone actually came up to them and asked them to tone things down a little bit, but for some reason, they decided not to take heed to those words, and then another guy comes along, and let me just say, he wasn't in as friendly of a mood. One of the annoying beachgoers then decides to try scaring the second guy off by holding a bottle, but that didn't work, and immediately the entire group regrets their actions. Now, I don't know why people just won't abide by the same rules of decency as the rest of us. I mean, if you know you're in a public place, the very least that you can do is make sure that you're not being a nuisance. But I guess these guys, they just didn't get the memo. Butterfingers. Being a globally recognized artist can be pretty daunting. You have to tour and perform, entertain for fans, and still act like you're nearly perfect. But in some cases, mishaps do occur. Take Alexa, for instance. While performing at the American Song Contest, she suffered this tragic malfunction. Maybe focus on keeping your hands stable next time, Alexa. It's just a thought. Shopping cart snafu. If you're the type to go shopping often, then you know how enticing it is to have a little fun with the shopping carts. Sometimes you want to slide around in a cart and treat it like a car, and sometimes you want to spin in the cart and have a little merry-go-round. But for this group of girls, the latter was the shenanigan of choice, and as you would expect, it actually started off pretty nice. The issue came when one of them decides to get out of the cart, and found that she was literally unable to. Suddenly, the whole joyride became way less joyful. This stuff was so bad that the girls literally had to get help from the local police. Now, I don't even need to explain how terrible it is, so we'll just move on to the next item. Instant karma. These days, people do the weirdest of things for social media clout. I mean, you could literally be walking out on your own, and someone suddenly decides to play a prank on you just to share your reaction on social media. Still, even though it's all fun and games, things can backfire pretty quickly. Just ask these guys who decided to prank a guy at the mall. Yeah, it's time to get a new phone to shoot those TikToks, I would think. Sprinkler saves the day. Now, before we move on to this next one, let me just say that this channel does not condone criminal activity in any kind of way. However, if you do find someone who's ever done any thieving, they would tell you that a lot of planning and work goes into it. I mean, you don't just enter into somebody's house and pray for the best, you know. But as it turns out, this criminal had a pretty terrible night out. According to some reports, a couple by the name of Josh and Katie had noticed that they had a bit of a theft problem in their neighborhood. The police had not been much help in the matter, and it seemed like the only way to solve it was to take things into their own hands. And that's exactly what Josh and Katie did. They put a motion-activated sprinkler in the trunk of their truck and then waited for this guy to come along. Now, something tells me he won't be thieving anymore for a while. Taunting the pooch. Being annoying to animals is never something that I would recommend. Besides the fact that it's just mean, you could also end up endangering yourself by triggering a good dose of karma. Just take a look at this man. He appeared to be coming back from church when he decided to taunt a dog, and let's just say that it didn't end very well for him. I mean, come on, bro. Reach for the book. I literally dare you. Flexing on the gram. Now, you know that feeling when you do something awesome and immediately run to Instagram to post it there because you have no life? Well, the next time you get the overwhelming urge to share, you might want to double check to make sure that you're all set. Or otherwise, you may run the risk of being like this guy. So, he really threw his phone into the water instead of the fish. You know, they say that Mother Nature always has a way of getting her revenge, and I think that this may be proof of that. Trick shot gone wrong. Now, if you're a soccer player or a fan of the sport, you know that there are some cheeky moves that you can make while on the pitch to wow the audience. Sure, the sport is about kicking a ball into a net, but if you've met players like Ronaldo and Neymar Jr., well, you would know that soccer can be full of tricks and razzle-dazzle. Sadly, though, not everyone is gifted with the ability to mesmerize and pull off these cheeky flicks. Just take a look at Mario Balotelli, who tried this move in a game in 2012.
Beautifully timed run, Balotelli to make it 2. And are you kidding?
Super Mario's move was so bad that his coach literally subbed him off right then and there. Do you know how insane it is for your coach to sub you off without even giving your replacement some time to warm up? It's simply unbelievable. Popping the gift. When you get a gift for your birthday or some other milestone, the excitement is definitely palpable. However, while you're enjoying the thrill of the new gift, it's also important to take things easy, or else you may run the risk of ending up like this lady. Here we see a girl who just got an iPhone as a gift, but in her excitement, she had a little boo-boo while unboxing it. One moment you've got a new phone, and the next moment you've got a broken screen. Life sure does come at you fast. Eyes on the clock. Now, if you think that sprinters are the only athletes who run the risk of celebrating too early, then you'd better guess again. Back in 2012, Italian motorsport athlete Riccardo Russo got a pretty terrible dose of reality while competing in the Italian CV Championship race. Riccardo had led the race up until the penultimate lap, but then he appeared to forget that he still had one lap to go, and as soon as he crossed the threshold, he began celebrating, thinking that he had won.
Punching the air, he's celebrating, I think, and I think this race is still going on here.
Here's the thing though, he didn't know what had happened, and while he stopped to do a fist bump, everyone else just passed him by. If you know anything about motorsports, it's that a lead that's lost isn't always easily regained. And for Russo, his premature celebration pretty much cost him the entire race. Testing the new ammo. Now, we all know the excitement that comes when you get a new toy to play with. You immediately unbox it and give it a test run. But in some cases, things don't always go that well. This little boy learned the hard way after he took a new airsoft gun that he had just bought and aimed it at his computer screen. See the way his facial expression changed? That's the look of a child who knows that he's messed up.
Oh my god.
The poor kid, now he has to get a brand new screen. Who needs a barber shop? Remember a few years ago when we all had to stay indoors because of that great big horrible thing that happened and nobody could go to the barber shop? It meant that a lot of people had to literally become their own barbers and hairstylists. Still though, the results pretty much varied. Some people found that they could actually cut their own hair quite nicely, while others, such as this one, saw that they could not.
Let's get started.
Did you notice how he just placed the hair right back on the bald spot? Kids can be so funny. Midday bath. Now honestly, I think that one of my favorite things ever is seeing a criminal get what's coming to them. Just take a look at these robbers who wanted to steal a man's car while he was filling it up at a gas station, and instead of panicking, however, the man simply took out a secret weapon, the gasoline nozzle. Now, no one got hurt, but something tells me that those guys would have a very quiet ride home, or at least to the nearest car wash. They say that actions come with consequences, and if anything, these clips go to show that consequences can sometimes hit you faster than you expect. Which of these clips did you find the most hilarious? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video so that you can get more videos like it in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.